Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
When I was in high school, freshman year, I took a class called, I think it was called communication. It was kind of an English class, but it wasn't really an English class in that you didn't do reading, but it was a lot of speaking and it was debating and improv. The teacher was kind of into all this. She kind of headed up drama, so there was a lot of that. And I wasn't really interested in theater or anything like that, but I wanted to be better at speaking. And some of the things we worked on, there was a lot of things we worked on, and it's interesting. That was really kind of my first introduction to being in class with people in other grades. Because, when you were in fifth grade, you were with fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, eighth graders. You all took the same classes. But when you got into high school, it was entirely possible that you had classes with people who weren't in your grade, who were going to graduate at a different point. So this was a class, there were some freshmen, there were some sophomores, juniors, and seniors in there. So you had an opportunity to meet a lot of people throughout the school. But at one point, we were having a conversation about something, and it was just kind of an opportunity to be vulnerable, or the teacher was kind of, what do people think? And I just let people know, I'm really not comfortable getting compliments. I really don't know how to handle them. And it wasn't this great shock, like, oh my gosh, other people are like, yeah, me too. But I'm not comfortable with it. And that was my first real, the first real point where I was really conscious of just this this discomfort with being praised. Hey, you did a great job. That was good. Great speech, And I shared that, I tried to do well in school. I didn't always apply myself, but in that class, I certainly wanted to. The teacher knew my parents. She was affiliated with Michigan Tech University, where my dad was at. It's not a huge university. People knew each other. So I wanted to do well and tried. And I didn't know that I was, but anyhow, I just felt uncomfortable, and I let people know. And that's something I've noticed through the years. I'm never really comfortable with receiving compliments. A lot of times what I'll notice is that I'll play them off with just a quick little joke, like, oh yeah, but that was just pure luck, or whatever. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut, kind of a thing. Like, I really didn't do anything. It was all luck. It was just situation. It was the team. It wasn't me. You have you must have a low bar of judging people, and it's just kind of my way of dismissing compliments. And so I was reading an article in Psychology Today, and it was, there's a lot of articles in there. Well, psychology is about relationships, right? It's about our own inner workings. Psychology is, and sociology is how that ties into other people. So those things are really connected. But there was an article there in the May-June 2025 edition, Kind Words, Weird Feels, and the author, Lindsay Godwin, PhD, she talks about this, and what she goes on to say in the article, she goes, and it just kind of, it's all coming home to me that, okay, I'm probably not alone. If somebody's studying this thing, I'm probably not alone in these feelings. But she says in the article, when people praise us, we have this, we have this image of ourselves like, okay, that wasn't great. It's just me. And one of the phrases I'll say from time to time is, you can't see the water you're swimming in, right? You can't see that, okay, that was good, or, I don't know if I did well because I don't really know other people who do what I do. But she goes on to share, and I'm quoting here, quote, often what makes praise so unsettling is not the words themselves, but the cognitive dissonance they create. For many of us, deep-rooted insecurities or nagging imposter feelings warning us that we aren't as worthy as others perceive can make any kind word about our achievements, talents, or appearance feel undeserved or insincere. End quote. I mean, boom, that's it right there. Somebody says, "Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm really inspired by you." Um, you know, really, really, because you know, I forgot to tie my shoes this morning. We just have these. We see the sausage being made. We see the sausage being made. And I remember when I came out with my first book, Foundational Networking. There was a guy was in a meeting, and the guy said, we were just talking about things that really meant something to us, and he just quoted from my book. And the quote was, and I say this all the time. It was either your greatest day is yet to come, or become the person you want to network with. And he just flat out said that was really insightful for him. I don't want to say life changing, but it's just like that really hit me. And I was surprised that he read the book, to be perfectly honest. But it's like, I'm really, that's, of all the books that are out there, that one really kind of hit you. I mean, I literally said that because to me, I wrote a book, but it wasn't like, okay, it's this great research, and I've got discovered the fountain of youth or something like that. It was just, it's a book, and it's just kind of my insights and a bunch of stories. But he saw it a different way, and a lot of people have said that to me, and I'm like, really? It's just me. I can't see the water that I'm swimming in. Now, the problem with me, well, there's a lot of problems with me. We won't get into all of them today. This is an ongoing journey into the problems of Frank. But the problem with not accepting praise is, and whether you're comfortable with it or not, the problem with not accepting praise is, and I'll quote again from the author here, Lindsay Godwin, and she's the co-author of the book Ditch the Ditty, Doing What Matters Instead of Doing It All. She's a professor at Champlain College, which is in Vermont. But anyhow, quote, compliments are small acts of kindness that say, I see you, I value you. By brushing them off, we inadvertently dismiss the giver's thoughtfulness and vulnerability, end quote. Wow. I mean, really, stop and think about it. Somebody takes the time to give you a compliment. If you kind of brush it off as like, it's no big deal, you're really saying, why did you stop and do that? Shame on me. Shame on me. If this is you, shame on you. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm a work in progress. I'm always looking to get better. I'm always looking to improve, and here's an area where I can certainly improve, and maybe you can too, or maybe it's somebody who's brushing these compliments off, and you can just pull them aside in a quiet moment and say, yeah, don't do that. Somebody went out of their way to compliment you. Just, you might not agree. Thank them. Just say thanks. And so, I don't think it's Dr. Godwin, but Lindsay, the author of the article, she goes on to talk about how to take a compliment. Number one, just say thanks. And she says you don't have to agree with the compliment, but try to resist the urge to downplay it or explain it away. Just let it land. End quote. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. You don't have to agree. I appreciate the fact that you feel that way. I appreciate the fact that you've gone out of your way to tell me or to email me. I don't have to mention that, I don't agree. I don't see it the same way, but thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do it. They're acknowledging you. Take the time to acknowledge them. Second point she makes is consider the evidence. Ask yourself if there's any evidence that might support the compliment. The person who's complimenting my book, that the guy who was Jared Cummins was his name, complimenting my book, and I was so taken back by it. It's like, well, okay, I don't have a perspective on his life. I really don't. I have a perspective on my life, and my thoughts in my book are things that I've thought about for a long time. So they're not groundbreaking for me. I just finally got them down in writing. But for him, it might well be. And there might be something there that somebody actually could think is pretty damn neat. Cool. So consider the evidence. Somebody is saying something, I have a sample size of 1 in judging myself, right? It's me. And it's hard for me to compare myself to anybody else because 1, I'm biased, and 2, I'm with me 24/7. And again, I see the sausage being made. I see the ups and the downs, and I see all the hard work that goes into, into writing a book. Oh my gosh, there's a lot to it. I see all of that. They don't. They just see the end result, and they're better at, they might be a better judge at judging you relative to something else, whether it's another book, another person, another initiative, whatever it is. So stop, thank them, and then the second thing, just consider the evidence and just stop and think, okay, well, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something there. And lather, rinse, repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. Just, okay, do it again. Maybe I don't see it, but other people do. And if other people do, then just kind of double down on it. And the last thing Lindsay talks about, Lindsay Godwin, is revisit them later. Even the compliment that makes us feel warm inside too often feels fleeting. But make it last. And one of the things she suggests in here is, take time to savor it. Write them down. She talks about having a compliment journal. You just kind of tally these things up. I think it's a great idea because from time to time we sort of get down on ourselves, and we can just kind of go back and look, and it's like, do I really promote my book? Well, you know what? There are people out there that like it. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. I've got a lot of books, a lot of things I'm working on. And to me, again, it's ho-hum because there's things that are in my mind that have been in my mind, and I finally got it down on paper. And I've written a lot of books, so the whole notion, the whole mystery, the whole wonder of writing a book has really kind of escaped me because I've done it. It's like, when you come across people who run a marathon. I have a friend who's run a marathon in every state in the United States. That's pretty cool. I'm sure to her, it's like, yeah, it's a neat accomplishment. It was she obviously set out to do it. Doesn't just happen. But when she got to state 49 and state 50, it was like, yeah, it's just another marathon. I'm just happen to be doing it in Wyoming. But keep a list of what those compliments are and revisit them later. So I'm going to end this with a quote. Actually, it's the final paragraph in Lindsay Godwin's article. Again, it's in Psychology Today, May-June 2025 issue. Quote, accepting kindness may feel awkward, even unnatural, but it's an opportunity for growth. When you let compliments sink in, you're just not acknowledging our own value. We're not just acknowledging our own value, we're also honoring the people who offered them. In doing so, we create space for deeper connections, greater joy, and more confidence. And not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. End quote. And that's really the tie into networking and relationships. We're trying to build relationships with people, and if the only thing that somebody can do for you is take the time to acknowledge us and compliment us, we need to take the time to thank them and acknowledge them for that effort.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.